Awesome, Joe. Well, thank you so much for doing this for me. I'm just gonna start with some questions, and maybe we could just talk about your experience, what it's been like working with us, and maybe we could just start with like who you are and what you do, and how long you've been in the business for.
Sure. So my name's Joe Pocian. I am the CRO for Agency Lab. What we offer is just a coaching program, right, for all beginners, individuals that are looking to scale. And I've been in this space, I would say roughly about 3.5 years, so relatively new. Um, and oddly enough, I didn't know anything about digital marketing prior to starting, but tons of sales experience. So what I do here is some of my duties is just manage the sales team, right? Go through projections, look at numbers, right? And then just hold people accountable. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Awesome. And yeah, so like we got introduced kind of funny. It was like you were my coach actually, and getting some feedback from you.
Mhm.
Maybe just talk about like how we actually got started and like what actually caught your eye to actually want to approach me about working with Focus Systems.
Yeah, so we had a call and it was interesting because you're like, look, this is kind of what I have put together and I just kind of walk you through it and give me some feedback. And any digital marketing agency, this is the trap that we fall into, is that in order to scale, you use data. It's very data driven. Otherwise, you're put into a system where you're making emotional decisions. Um, and like most other people, I was in spreadsheet hell for the most part, right? So it's like spreadsheets might be good to a certain extent, but they don't tell the whole story. So I needed clarity on some of the things in like a dashboard or easy to use. So having the conversation with you, I just kind of looked at it and I'm like, we really could utilize this. This is something that we're missing, right? Because data is only good determined by the person that's actually inputting it, right? So what tends to happen is, there's several types of data or pieces of data that didn't tell the whole story. Maybe we skipped a couple times, maybe, this had happened, that had happened. So we needed something that was just more concrete, pulling data from the actual right source. So we don't have to go back and clean anything up. And now it's clean data. I can use that data and leverage that to actually scale and make the right decisions. So it takes the emotional and the guessing game completely out of it because I'm just making movements based off of data. So I know who's struggling in certain areas. I know where to put my focus and it helps keep me organized through the course of the day, right? Like this space, it's always putting out fires. But when it's spreadsheets, you're actually pouring water on a mirage. It's kind of like a waste of time. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's given me a lot more clarity and it simplifies everything. And just on the servicing standpoint, too, you and your team are just very quick to respond, right? And then not only that, but if we look back at the onboarding, it's like I could articulate to you kind of, it's almost like if you go and purchase a home and you got to renovate it, you had the vision, you kind of knew the structure and the things that you need to put in place. So it was helpful for me is giving me clarity on these are some of the things that we need to go ahead and focus on and we need to launch. And um, yeah, it's helped tremendously. I can't even put it into words.
Awesome. And just curious, like, where were you? Like, what were you experiencing that kind of like was that made you realize that you wanted this? Like, what were you going through in terms of like the spreadsheets and just the current, day to day?
That's a great question. So first of all, it's it's like one of those things where you don't know what you don't know, right? So this is a solution we've been looking for through several different sources. And Nigel, I told you this before, even in engaging and agreeing to move forward, no one could deliver. They sold the dream, but nobody could deliver, right? And remember when I shared with you, if you could just deliver on 60% of what you said is possible, it would add value. So what we're struggling with is in terms of spreadsheets is because I have my own designated spreadsheets and then COO has theirs, client success has theirs. So even though you have the spreadsheet and it tells you what to do, you have to communicate and compare that with the other department to make sure that you're on the same page. And sometimes there are discrepancies. So now that you have a discrepancy, now you're just chasing your tail because they're busy, I'm busy. So now you have to find alignment. Monday turns to Wednesday. Then finally you get ahead of it. And it's like you need the information at your fingertips so you can make that split second decision to help guide you a little bit more quicker, right? So spreadsheets are fine. It'll only get you so far though. I mean, so I looked at it as like a nice to have because all the empty promises prior, but now that we're using it, it's like a need to have. It definitely is a need to have, right?
Well,
Does that answer your question?
yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And it was really awesome that you right away introduced me to Naomi, and we got on a call 2 hours later, and we pretty much pulled the plug there. But I'm curious, like when you're talking to Naomi, also like what actually made you guys decide to like go through with working with us?
You know, it runs into a situation where it's like we knew that we were missing something. So we kept looking for it, right? And we've given other people opportunities. You know, they gave us, I don't want to say the same pitch, but it was like similar. You know, this is all your dreams can come true with this. I'm like, yeah, it's amazing. But nobody could deliver. But then having a conversation with you, it really put me because I haven't entered into those previous conversations. So I was like the new guy, right? I'm like, why don't we have this? Like, why don't we have it? And there was an explanation. So when I went back talked to Naomi, I was like, look, it's very intriguing. I said, I'm gonna hold back my opinion. I said, but you really need to give it a hard look. Like, and she's like, yeah, I'm interested. So it just ran into a situation where I think now was the time because for anybody in like a C-level executive position or the owner of an agency, there's so many other things that you need to focus on. The last thing you need to do is chase down spreadsheets and run numbers and calculate this over this. And then now you have to go back to that department and say, hey, you know, what are your thoughts? And they're making thoughts based on emotion. So it just adds clarity because if the numbers are there, then we're trusting the process, you know, regardless. And sometimes when you come out with offers as a digital agency, you think I'm going to improve on the offer, but we need to see it from a big scale, from like a 30,000 foot overview, what LTV is, right? Like what's the average cash collected per deal, right? Like what is the show rate? What's this and that? Because sometimes when you talk to a closer or somebody on the sales team, they will tell you one thing. And then when you actually dig into it, it's a totally different story, right? So it's usually their side, then there's the other side, and the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? So having this and being able to pull it up, look at it, I know what I need to do. Like it kind of helps me kind of just stay in lock and step with the other departments too, right? So it's like I'm running my own thing, but we're a company, right? So it's like my decisions may affect client success. My decisions may affect the operational side of things, right? But when I can actually just grab that dashboard and compare it to what I have, and then go back to that person and say, "Hey, look, are we on the same page?" They go, "Yeah." Then we can pull the trigger, make a decision, right? I mean, that's it. It's
What do
changed everything for us, to be honest. Everything.
you mean by that? How's it changed your day to day? How's it changed everything?
It's probably saving me, like honestly, I would have to. It's probably 2 hours a day, quite honestly, right? So it's like, the other thing too is I have to look at CFO and say, what are the projections? Like, where do you think we're going to land, right? I'm going to share this is the truth. So when I went through projections earlier, I literally would have to go through and tally everything up. I would go into a spreadsheet because I want to make sure that the you measure once or twice and you cut once, right? So I'd have to compound all my data, keep track of sales, keep track of revenue. There's some mistakes. This counted twice, this counted 3 times. It's inaccurate, right? So I got to make sure that I'm looking at it and reviewing it. And then they ask me for a projection. And Nigel, I showed you. It was kind of like a guessing game. Like I didn't know for certain. I had a pretty good understanding, but I didn't know for certain. So we had a conversation about projections about a week ago, and I was off by $1,000, $1,000 versus it could have been tens of thousands, right? When
Yeah.
you're playing at bigger stakes, right? So now when we don't have to go through a drawn out process, CFO's got to be on point. Hey, can we have a management meeting? Can we huddle? Can we do this and that? Yes, we have them often, right? But I can't wait until Wednesday. I got to make a decision today. It's Monday, right? So In order to have that sort of accuracy where I'm off by $1,000 just by looking at a dashboard, yeah, I mean that's it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's it.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
love that, man. And so, um, maybe talk about a little bit about like what's been your overall experience, even just starting the onboarding and just the ongoing. How would how would you rate our onboarding experience, just your overall experience in general? How would
I
you?
would say the onboarding was relatively slow, but it wasn't because of you. It was because of us, spreadsheet hell, having to deal with this stuff, right? So it's like when we actually found a good time, it was super fast. Matter of fact, I was in Miami. I was on vacation. It was like
Mhm.
a 15-minute call, broke everything down. Okay, cool. This is how it looks. And then I asked a very important question. I said, well, can this evolve? Like, can we tweak some things? And you and Rod were like, yeah, no problem. Like, this is a good starting point. We got enough. And then I think you gave us, excuse me, the timeline of a week or something like that. It was very simple. And you guys actually were able to deliver a little bit sooner, right? Here's the first variation. Look it over. Everything's good. And then we just kind of, anytime we reach out to you guys, you're super responsive. So it's like you guys are Johnny on the spot, which we respect and appreciate because there's a lot of things that you can, like money's the resource. So you can always go out and make more money. But the issue with us is it was time. You can never get back time. As big of a check as you want to write for another 3 years, it's impossible. You can't do it, right? So the onboarding was smooth, it was very quick. You guys delivered on exactly what you said. You guys are responsive. Like it's a 10 out of 10 for sure.
Amazing.
Which we had hesitation because of
Yeah,
all the promises prior to,
yeah,
right? But you guys have over delivered on everything that you said you guys would take care of, for sure.
awesome. And so the last question here, what would you say for why it's important to track your data, and also like what would you say to people that are kind of on the fence of working with focus systems?
I would say, look, if you're doing data collection, we are human. Humans make mistakes, right? So you enter a spreadsheet wrong or you make one miscalculation, depending on where you are in the journey, you're making decisions based off of that data. So it helps us when we remove like the human element from it because it lessens the chance and the opportunities for mistakes to happen. Number one, okay? And number two, as you scale as an agency, if you're getting just like garbage data, you're just now at a time where you're going to transition, it's really compounded, right? So the sooner you can get ahead of it, the better you're going to be you're more equipped and prepared to scale because you're making decisions on proper data and the way that's collected, right? And the last thing too is I wished I could have gone back in time and met with you sooner to actually have the opportunity to work with you because I lost out on all that time. That's time that I could have spent, coaching the sales team. That's time that I could have spent on, just for our clients, right? Give them a little bit more attention so they can have more wins, right? Um, I mean, that's pretty much it. I would say to them, like, look, you don't know what you don't know at the end of the day, and you think it might be a nice to have, but if you are going all in, you're scaling the business. These are things that you're taking serious. Data should be a top of your list in terms of actually taking that serious, right? The sooner the better, right? And we sometimes think that if we get a little bit more time, it's going to provide us with an answer, a solution. But in reality, if you're launching a business from scratch, the more time that passes on, if it's done improperly, you got more stuff to clean up on the back end. So save yourself some time and headache and just don't think of it as a nice to have. It really is a need to have, in my opinion. That help?
Amazing.
Okay.
Well, Joe, thank you so much, brother. I really, really appreciate it. And honestly, this is just the surface area. We still got a lot more to go, and
Oh
we're
yeah, yeah. Can't wait for the other
all
dashboards for
features.
sure. Yeah, yeah. Naomi's fired up, like because again, I cannot stress it enough. Um, it saves me a lot of time and heartache. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I could be anywhere and I could pull up a dashboard and know exactly where we're at. And then I can use that as a benchmark to reach out to the teams and have the conversation on the things they need to do. So, um, yeah, I can't thank you enough. It's been great. Been great.
Appreciate it so much, Joe. Thank you for your time. And we're looking forward to crushing it more.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go, Nigel. I'm with you.